Hello everyone. In the second part of lab 5, we want to focus on the line graph, how we can make a line graph with RStudio. In the first part, we learn how to take a simple random sample with RStudio from a dataset. So in the second part, we want to again import a dataset, and then we want to see how we can create a line graph or time plot. So the data set that we want to work in this part is called US Census. If you look at our directory, so we have the data set is called US Census. If you open this, is a txt file. So we have the first row is the name of the variables, year, and population. And we want to work with that data set. So first, because it's a txt file, so we use the command read.table, and of course file equals to the name of the variable, which is us.txt file. Exactly write the name of the data set, and extension txt is a text file. And because it's a text file, we need to determine for R that it is a text file. So set equals to /t, of course, in the quotation. And then as I show you, the first line is the name of the variable. That's why we need to determine that header equals to true. So by running this line, so we could import a dataset. So we import a dataset and we save it into argument US data. Now I want to see that the US dataset, but I don't want to look at the entire of the dataset. So I use like the first part, I use command head of the dataset. So if you run it, so you'll see that it gives you the first 6 rows of your dataset. So you can give a flavor of what is the rows and how many observations do you have and how many variables you have. I have 2 variables and the name of the variables and of course the nature of the dataset. So the thing here now I'm going to talk about a little we need to learn. A new command is called attach. What is that? So if I want to work here with the US, because we already imported US dataset. So if I type here US data, as it suggests, let me clear the console. So US data and then $sign. So I'll recognize that we have 2 variables in this data set, and I type it and I recognize. But unfortunately, if I type directly here, R cannot recognize this variable because this variable here is a variable, local variable saved inside the data set US data, and R cannot recognize that. So in order to, because I don't want to always use the $sign to show that this is a local, global, so we can use the command attach. So by using command attach the dataset that we have US data, it means that we tell RStudio and we allows R to go inside the dataset. So by running this one, now RStudio recognize that this dataset and has access to all the local variables saved in this dataset. Now if I type this time year, see that I recognize that the year, and now you get the same dataset because we attached this dataset. So because I attached the dataset, now I can use the command because I want to type the plot line graph of the dataset. So x-axis to be here. I want to have a line graph such that my x-axis is the year, and I want to show population, how population changes. I want to put the population on y-axis or y-scale. So that's why the first variable is recalled in plot, the command plot, year x, and then population y, and we run this one. So if you run this one, you'll see that that's why the second argument goes to the y scale, and the first argument goes to your x scale. And because I wanted to see that the data set, the observation, that's why I selected type B. So that's why you'll see that how data increases from year to year. But you can use another type. If I use a different type, for example, type L, of course, type you need to determine inside the quotation. So if we run the second command, everything is the same. Again, I wanted to plot the data set here as an X and population as a Y, but the type is L. So if we run this one, so you will see that you get a smooth line and you don't see the data set. Just you see it's kind of sometimes this one is better than the previous one when you want to show the continuity in the data set. So this is a good command, type L. So now I work with the data set and I don't want to work with the US data anymore, and I don't want access to inside the data set. So that's why, because we open this data set with attach, now we can close this data set by detach. So when I use detach, now R is not anymore does not have any more access to the variable inside the dataset US data. So if I type year, the article says that there is no object called year. So now we use the attach and detach a lot because we have the dataset and variables. So the next thing we want to learn is that we learn bar chart. Bar chart we use we use this graphical display for a categorical variable. So that's why we need to have access to it, categorical data. So consider that we want to have we have the data set zoo is a categorical data here in your txt file. Look at, if you click here, you'll see that we have 5 animals and the number of that animals in that particular zoo. So we have the data, we have 5 categories and their frequency of each category or number of counts in each category. And we want to use this data set, we want to use bar chart to represent this data set. So first we need to import the data. So because it's a txt file, so what I can do, I can use the zoo read.table file, the name of the file, zoo.txt file, and we use it. So that's why we read the data set. So if you click on the zoo, so you'll see that you have the data set of the 5 animals, 5 rows, and their counts. So in this case, or you can use, sometimes you can use the type head, so it gives you the first 6 columns. Of course, we have only 5 columns, 5 rows in this data set. Like before, I don't want to always say that zoo $animal, zoo $count to have access to the variables. So I use attach the dataset zoo for R. So R now has access to the local variables saved in this dataset. So I just type the bar plot of count, the second variable. And if you type it, so you'll see that it gives us the bar plot of the dataset. But what I can do, what happens is that it gives us the bar graph, but we don't see the labels. I want to see the labels for each category. So that's why we need to determine by option names equals, the name is exactly the name of the first argument or first variable animal. So by running this line, so now we get the same bar graph, but we have access. We have the title for each category. The first category, lions, has 4 observations. And we have 4 lions in this zoo and around 6 tigers and so on. Sometimes the label of the category is long, and for example, if it's very long, it is longer than the length of the bar. So, and go inside to go to the second bar, and the appearance is not good. So that's why sometimes we prefer to put the names in the vertical way, in the labels in the vertical way. So that's why you can use the LAS2. So by this option, look at how the bar graph changes. Now the label is exactly the same as before, but this time labels are in vertical way. So lions, tiger, even if it is too long, the vocabulary or the label, so that's okay. It doesn't go to the next. Go to the next bar. So this is the bar graph. But sometimes here the bars are a vertical bar. But we learn in class that we have also horizontal. We can have the bar graph with the horizontal bars. So how can we do that? So very easily, again, our data set is count, named the same as before, ls before, the same as before, but we need to add an option, horizontal, true equals to true. And by running this entire of this line, so you'll see that you have the same bar graph, but this time the bars are horizontal. And of course, because I work with the data set and I don't need the data set anymore, so I need to detach zoo. And that's the end of this. So R doesn't have access anymore to inside the variables of the zoo. Of course, we have access to the zoo, but we have to use the $sign to determine that that variable is local. What about the next thing is about a pie chart. How can I think right now it is around 14 minutes. So because we cannot save the very long videos, so I just stop here, and then the histogram and the pie chart are covered in the last part of our lesson.